Shut up and sit down.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, brought to you again by Tacticam. Tacticam is the easiest way to record your hunt, whether you're just reviewing your hit or making a full-on production. Tacticam's going to have something for you. They got the simple, easy-to-use, economical solo to the high-powered 4K 5.0 Tacticams. So they've got something for everybody. And, you know, if Frank and Ernie can figure it out and film a hunt with multiple cameras using the Tacticams, you know it's got to be pretty easy to use. So actually, I just uploaded their Ernie's turkey hunt, so you can go see that up on our YouTube page. Just Bowhunter Chronicles. You search that on YouTube, and you'll be able to. You'll be able to check that out. This week we're talking again with Jason Samkowiak from the Traditional Bowhunting and Wilderness podcast. Jason is, he's a traditional bow hunter, lots of information. Had him on recently to talk bow hunting tips, tricks, and we ended up talking a little bit about gear. But I wanted to bring him back specifically right now to talk about gear because, you know, you may have some extra time on your hands. You may have some stimulus money. You may be saying, you know, what do I need to do? I found myself in a mountain of hunting clothes from late season, bow season, and trying to figure out what I needed for turkey season, and just going through my pack and my turkey vest going, man, why do I need all this stuff? What do I need? So I thought it'd be a good time, you know, to bring Jason on and just talk about some of the essential gear that he carries with him on each trip. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Jason carries a lot of stuff in his pack as a regular. We talked to Dan Infault, and there's some guys that are extremely minimalist. If it doesn't fit in their pocket, it doesn't go, no matter how far they're going. Jason's kind of on the other side of that spectrum, but he kind of outlines everything that he carries and kind of why. So you get an idea of why he's carrying it, and then you can make your own decision from that. We also kind of delve into the everyday carry, kind of, knives and a little bit of firearms as well, and calibers and philosophies and stuff like that. So towards the end there, it kind of shifts to a little bit different. I think it's the first time we've really discussed any firearms on here. So kind of interesting, kind of a deviation. John's not on this podcast. We tried to get him on through Zoom. Jason doesn't have good internet, so I was trying to do a phone call and a Zoom all in, and I wasn't technically savvy enough to make that happen, so it's just Jason and I. So I think you guys are really going to love this episode. I just want to say, give a shout out to our newest Patreons, Blake Lockheed and John Hubbard. Both are Northern Michigan guys, one up in Grand Marais in the UP, the other up in Traverse City. So, if we ever get on the other side of this coronavirus social distancing thing, and by some grace of God, we get the Total Archery Challenge go ahead green light. That's right up there by Traverse City. So maybe we'll get to meet up with Blake up there, but we'll see. And so those guys are now in the running for our quarterly Patreon giveaways. And this one we're giving away that Traeger 575 Pro Series pellet grill. And we split up our prizes, so we're going to be giving away that Tacticam solo package, and then a pro pack from Base Map with a Base Map year subscription and some swag from that as well. And if you haven't tried Base Map, you should go over and check that out. They give away awesome prizes every week, whether you have their free version or not. They actually give away gear through their gear drop, and it basically teaches you how to use their software and use the different layers and all that stuff. And you can do that all just for free. You can check that out at Base Map. I think it's basemap.app.com, but you just Google Base Map, and you'll be able to find that. And then if you do want to try that out. There's a code you can use, lowercase Chronicles, and it'll save you. I believe it's 25% off of that, so it ends up being like $24 for the year. That's for the entire country, so it's really awesome. Go ahead and check that out. And then we're also giving away. So Jason Samkowiak has a bow hunting whitetails course. It's like a comprehensive video course, and we gave that away the last quarter, and the winner actually was already subscribed to it. So John, he said, go ahead and run it back and give it away to one of the Patreons. So we're going to be giving that away. So you got 4 chances to win, and there's basically like less than 50 people. So you have a greater than 4 in 50 chance. So that's like one out of every 12 and a half people is going to win something. So those are some pretty good odds to win, and you can check that out at bowhunterchroniclespodcast.com. Click on the Patreon link, or you can go to patreon.com/bowhunterchronicles and check out what that's all about. But if that's not your thing, no big deal. You're listening to the podcast right now. Leave us a review. Let us know what we're doing well, what we can improve on, what you think of the podcast, because that's the only way that we can get better. And then go ahead and tell a friend. So tell somebody. I mean, I know John. John, the new Patreon, John Hubbard. He found this through some of our past guests and some of our friends, Pat Casey. So just get out there and tell somebody else about the podcast, and have them check us out on social media, or just download. Tell them to find us wherever podcasts are found. But we do appreciate everybody that listens, everybody that follows along, all the messages, all the feedback that we get. We appreciate every single one of you, and thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. All right. Hey, everybody. Adam back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. We've got Jason Samkowiak on the line. Had John on, but we were having some technical difficulties doing the Zoom, patching in John, and so it's just going to be Jason and I this evening. Last time we had Jason on, we talked hunting strategy, and we delved a little bit into gear, and I've been listening to. I wanted to get Jason back on to talk some gear, but if you follow along with his podcast, and you definitely should. I felt like there was kind of almost like a shift in his content a little bit lately. A little bit more, it's the traditional bow hunting and wilderness podcast, and having that wilderness moniker in there, there's, kind of room for everything. And it seemed to go into a little bit of a preparation, everyday carry, knives, and it was kind of gear heavy, and it kind of got me saying, man, I'd really like to talk to Jason again. So that's kind of what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave out the climbing systems, tree stand, saddle, and just kind of go for like a what's in your pack and priority type stuff. So how are you doing tonight, Jason?
I'm doing pretty good. Everything's nice. Weather's finally breaking here. You're in Michigan too, so you see it. But finally, it's finally t-shirt weather here. So that's a good sign. Getting outside, getting things done, and trying to make it happen.
Right. So, let's talk a little bit real quick about your podcast that I alluded to with like the gear preparedness and that sort of stuff. Is it safe to say there's been like a more of a leaning that way in the more recent podcast?
Well, I do it every year, and I specifically named it that, the Traditional Bow Hunting and Wilderness Podcast. Off the bat, I named it that reason because of the fact that I knew there wasn't going to be enough just to cover traditional bow hunting. I mean, I'd have been done in 50 episodes. I mean, you can't do 50 hours on just traditional bow hunting without being repetitive, So I wanted to give myself that luxury of being able to extend it out. Plus, there's so many other things that I am into. So what I do is usually from about mid-July all the way through November, even till about December. or about Christmas even, I usually focus real heavy, hardcore on the hunting stuff. And then from January 1st on, I start to kind of deviate a little bit and throw a mixture of stuff in there. And usually summertime like this, I throw it's a mixed bag. It's a sock drawer. I don't know what I'm talking about or what it is, but it's a lot of random stuff. And I do still throw hunting stuff in there as well too. The hunting is it's still any way you cut it, it's about hunting and 25% other stuff. But during the summertime is when I get at 25%. So I cover EDC stuff, camping stuff, vehicle maintenance, how to, EDC stuff in your cars, how to do things around your house, sustainable lifestyles, anything that relates to how I think people want to live and what they want to do and the things they're into, bow fishing, all that stuff. I try to cover a good gamut of all that kind of stuff in the summertime, give people a little something else to play with.
Sure. Yeah, and I just felt kind of like, personally, as I was, my turkey season started yesterday, and as I was getting stuff ready and kind of starting to wrap my head around that, I had this just pile of hunting stuff in my garage, and I was going through my packs, and I was moving gear from here, and what did I do with that head net, and where are those gloves, and where's all my calls? Where's all this stuff? Oh, do I need a thermocell? Oh, it's, going to be still cold. Do I need the hot hands? All this stuff. And I feel like, with turkey hunting, with decoys and, with filming and everything, I feel like a gypsy as I go out there. And I was thinking, how much of this stuff do I really need? And then, right now we've got a lot of guys, gals, people have got a lot of time on their hands, because we're kind of stuck indoors, and maybe they're going to take this time to kind of reorganize, reevaluate kind of some of their gear, that sort of thing. And maybe they got their stimulus money and they're saying, well, I'm going to use some of that for hunting gear. Where would I spend my money, etc. So, like I say, without going into stand sticks, broadheads, arrows, we kind of already went through all of that. What are the things that you prioritize, like for your style of hunting? First of all, what is that? And then what are the things that you make sure you have in your pack, not ancillary, the things that are in there that you take on every single hunt, no matter if it's the 30 minutes before work or the, 4 mile into the woods, Georgia swamp hunt?
Well, I basically, I'm running, you're basically just 2 different packs, 3 different pack setup. I run a pack for my Michigan whitetail hunting, because of the fact that I'm not dragging deer, I'm putting deer in a jet sled and pulling them out. I'm not usually packing them out on a frame pack. And if I do, then I can come back to the truck and grab that frame pack. So I have 1 pack set up for all my Michigan hunting and, deer hunting. I use it whether it's for a 2-hour hunt or if it's for an all-day sit. Doesn't make any difference. Then my second pack system is the one I bring on all my out-of-state trips where I'm for sure packing animals out. And I want to be able to have that frame pack in the woods with me. So if I kill one, I can get down, pull my stand down, grab my sticks, my stands, put them on my pack, blood trail that animal, find it, cut it up, put it inside that pack on the frame pack with my stick stands, pack everything back to the car, drop the deer off at the truck, do all that stuff, and then head right back in the woods and go hunting again. So I have that system. And then the still hunting stuff like in Georgia, South Carolina, the stuff I'm doing there for the pigs is a whole nother pack system that's a lot lighter, simpler. Now I'm taking things from one pack and putting it in the next. It's not like they're duplicates and set up, but those are my 3 systems that I have to switch to, regardless of what those types of trips are. So as far as the packs themselves, I use for my home stuff here in Michigan, I don't think as far as a day pack goes, like an actual non-framed, they do have internal staves, but as a non-framed pack, I don't think you can beat the Kuiu Venture 2300. I love that bag. It is the best bag I have ever owned. For that, the pocket layout is absolutely phenomenal. The quality and build of it is phenomenal. It's so lightweight. The thing weighs like 1.5 pounds. It's just incredible. It's an awesome pack for like $200. So I love that pack. That is my go-to hunting pack for, like I said, all my Michigan stuff or anything where I'm not packing animals out with me. That's the pack system. When I head out to the out-of-state trips, I've always used for the last 4 years. I've been using an XOK 2000 bag. I straight up love it with a frame, titanium frame. I did just buy a new Mystery Ranch Pintler pack, which is just a hair bigger, and I'm going to try that this year. But I mean, I haven't packed animals out on that one yet, but that EXO's been incredible. And I got real high hopes for this Mystery Ranch Pintler. And then for the stuff that I'm doing, the still hunting in Georgia and that kind of stuff, I want to be really lightweight. So I'm just using a Camelback Mule LR, I think it's called, but it's just a small little, 1,000 to 1,200 cubic inch, very little mountain biking backpack is what it is. It's designed for mountain bikers, but it holds my essentials I need. It's got really good airflow for the hot days down there. So, air gets between my back and I don't sweat real bad. And it's tucked out of the way, real small, and holds everything I need. So those are my 3 pack systems that I have to go through in a hunting year.
And what's the common denominator in those packs? So like I say, every single time you go out hunting, like what are the items that are in each one of those regardless of circumstance?
Yep. Binoculars are a given. I always have my binoculars. I don't ever hunt without binoculars. I don't wear them a lot when I'm scouting, things like that. But when I'm looking for animals and I'm hunting, there is always a pair of binoculars. When I'm tree stand hunting, I choose to leave them in my pack until I get there because I don't want to scratch them going up and down the sticks. If I do something stupid, if you're hanging around my neck, and I don't want to scratch the lenses. So I leave them in my pack till I get up there. But binoculars are in every single pack I have. They're always with me. I always have a good knife with me, like it doesn't matter where I'm going, but I always got like an SE number 4 or a Tops, Brothers of Bushcraft 5-inch, 4.5-inch. But I always keep a good solid fixed blade with me because I'm hunting wilderness areas, even though it's up here up north. There's times where I'm at up here between here and south of Grayling, I can be 15 miles from a house. It could be pretty crazy. So I want to be able to have the stuff I need to stay out there overnight, which isn't a lot, but so I always have a good knife with me. I always have a compass with me. I always have a GPS with me. That GPS, that Garmin 64, I really like it. So and it works really good in the heavy swamps. You get that real thick overgrown stuff, and it still penetrates through there real well and works good. So I always have that. I always have a lot of lighters. They're spread through all the pockets in there again, just because in case I'm stuck out there for whatever reason. What else do I carry all the time? I always try to have a couple of snack sticks, like the Jack Links or something like that, or like Slim Jim type beef jerky sticks. I like having those in there. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of what else. I always carry my Havalon is always in there with me because I like that. It's quick and easy. I don't use it for gunning animals, but I use it for all the boning out that I do. It's just really fast, and I can just swap that blade really quick, especially when you're doing it in the rain. There's nothing more of a pain in the butt than being bent over and boning a deer out in the middle of a pouring storm. So that Havalon just lets you really keep moving fast and get through it quick. So that, and I have what I call my kill kit. It's just a pint size or quart size Ziploc bag, and it's got 2 or 3 pairs of nitrile rubber gloves in there. It's got a couple of those little disposable wet wipes. They come in individual packs, and it's got that Havalon in there and 3 replacement blades. I also carry an Azula in my pocket or something, a knife. So there's always a knife in my pocket. Headlamp, there's always a Phoenix HM50R or whatever it is. I did a review on it, but I love that light. I like zebra lights. I used them for a long time. And then when I bought that Phoenix, I bought what they're pre-modeled to this when I bought it is a light that was on sale for like $40. And I thought, you know what, I just need it for bow fishing. While I'm in the boat to be able to tie knots and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm gonna just get this one. So I bought that other predecessor Phoenix one, and I fell in love with it. I liked it. When they came out with this new one, that one they came out with a year and a half or so ago that I reviewed, I love that. I've been using it since. I think I got 4 of them now. They're incredible. It's the best headlamp I've ever used, and it blows the doors off the zebra lights. So for a single cell, so I love that headlamp. I always carry Eagle Tack flashlights. I always have a double cell. Doesn't matter if Eagle Tack, Phoenix, Surefire, what it is, but always have a good flashlight in your pack, somewhere close and easy to get to. Because I know a lot of guys aren't going to carry a flashlight in their pocket. I always carry a flashlight in my pocket too. But those headlights, the batteries go out, and the last thing you want to do is have to be shuffling in the dark through your pack to find it, because you're probably going to be kicking other things out and you're going to lose gear. So have that flashlight somewhere. I keep mine on every pack, has a little water or bladder clip on the top. On the inside, well, I connect my lanyard to my flashlight right there. So all I have to do is open it up and grab that light. I got it handy all the time. So that's in there. I always carry recently for last year or so, I learned this trick and I've been doing it, but I carry a piece of fat wood with me, a stick of fat wood. It weighs next to nothing. It's about the size of a pencil, but man, is it one heck of a fire starter in the rain. You can make a cool little tinder bundle match set with it. It's pretty cool. I think I did a video on it in some of my survival stuff. I'm not quite sure, but if not, maybe I'll even do one. But it's like a storm match that you make that in the middle of pouring rain will just burn and burn, and you can light with it, and it's pretty awesome. So I carry one of those. God, I'm trying to think of what else I carry. I always have my harness. Obviously, if I'm in tree stands, my harness and my lineman belt. I like them in my pack because usually when I'm going in, I'm going through briars, stickers, nasty stuff, things like that. And especially in some of the other states like Missouri and things like that. I mean, some of the bedding areas I'm going into there, if I was wearing anything other, if I was wearing fleece or anything like that, you got so many burrs stuck to everything you got, you can't even work your clothes. You know, you can't even, you might as well be wearing Velcro. You know, it gets so bad. So I like making sure my packet or my harness and everything stays in my pack till I'm at my tree, so I don't get it covered up with all the burrs. And I always carry extra straps. I carry 4 nylon 1-inch straps, the same as what our tree stands and our climbing stick straps are. But I tied them into loops, and I got 4 different loops. So if I get into trees that are too big, I can actually extend those straps real quick just by wrapping them right through the end of that loop and locking them on and using those. So those are always with me. I always carry water. I always have water with me, and like I said, a little bit of food. Toilet paper is essential. Do not ever not have toilet paper. You know, not only for Mother Nature calls and things like that, but it is the best for tracking. Because you can reach up and put it high. You can see it from a long way, and you do not have to go back to get it. You know, there's nothing worse than, and I see it up here, public land. I see the flagging tape so many places, and I pull it down every time I see it, but it upsets me so much that I'm walking through the woods scouting and I see a line, and then I have to take 200 yards of my time and follow his line to go pull his crap down because he left it there and he marked a blood trail with flagging tape. So toilet paper, way better. You put it up, leave it, the rain washes it down, it's biodegradable, it's gone. So always have the toilet paper set up like that. I actually do mine in 2 parts in 1 bag. Like I'll take my hand on a regular roll of toilet paper and I'll roll around my hand and get a whole bunch of it. Whatever, let's say there's 15 feet of it. And then I'll take that and I stick that in the bottom of the bag. And then I do the same thing again with a 10-foot and then another thing with like a 5-foot piece. And I put them in the bag that way. So that way I'm not taking the whole thing out at once, especially again, if you're blood trailing in the rain or you got to go to the bathroom in the rain, you don't want to wreck that. And I hunt in the rain all the time. So it's one of those things you learn. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put your toilet paper where you're going to soak the whole thing in one shot. So, and I mean, as we go, I'll probably think of some more stuff, but off the top of my head, that's I'm trying to think of anything else that I'm not. There's probably more that I'm not thinking of, but then I'll come to. I usually have to carry a battery pack as well too, because I usually do a lot of filming on my cell phone. For videos that I'm making for tree stand tips and things like that. So I do carry one of those little battery chargers for your cell phone. I always have one of them in my pack so I can use it to recharge if I start wearing the battery down. Pills are a good thing too. As far as pills, I always carry Tums because I like pop once in a while, but pop always gives me heartburn. So I like having Tums in my backpack, and I like having Motrin in there in case I get a headache or something like that. I make people laugh at me, but I do usually carry a couple Band-Aids. I got a little first aid kit that's about the size of a cell phone. It's about the size of a thick wallet is what it is. but it carries all of the essential items I need. I actually did a video on that as well too, where you got, I always carry a survival blanket, one of those space blankets. Those are mandatory. I carry 2 of them. One to be on the ground for when it's raining, for that to get you off the wet ground, and the other one to use it as a shelter above me when it's raining. I can use it to wrap up in if I need to out there. I've even used them for when I'm actually boning out animals as well too. I can lay that out like a tarp, and I just stick a stick in all 4 corners to lock it down, and I got almost my own table that I can set the meat on and everything like that as I want to. So and then I've roll it right up in there and use it almost like a game bag if I don't have a game bag with me. So many different uses for those kind of things. And water purification tablets. I make sure I have those constantly also, because I always have a water bottle or a pop bottle or a Gatorade bottle or something with me. But having something to purify water again, if I don't think I'd ever have to spend more than one night in the woods if I did get lost or something like that. And I've been out there a couple times overnight because I've been on following deer in a snowstorm. And they're gut shot, and I'm not gonna let them get away from me because it's snow. I'm up here in the snow belt. I mean, we could get a foot of snow in a 6-hour period here, and all it takes is a quarter inch to hide a blood trail. So, there's been times where in December I've shot deer and that hit wasn't perfect, and I start to blood trail them because of the snow, and then I get there and I see eyes ahead of me 150 yards up there shining in my headlamp. It's like, oh man, well, I can't leave. I can't back out of there because he'll be covered with the 8 inches of snow coming. So I'm literally stuck staying my distance, but where I can see him, and sometimes that can be 8 hours. So I've had a couple of those over the years. Where you can't not be with them. You can't shoot them, can't do anything. You're after legal hours. The only thing you can do is stay with them until they die, and you have to, you can't give them too much room to get away, or you'll lose them. So having the stuff to get you through that kind of thing is a nice thing to have in your pack too. So, I don't know if that answered your question. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some stuff.
Well, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up with you, because I know you have quite the affinity for gear, and the reviews that you do are incredible. But like I said, I watched a review of that Pentler pack, and it was like you just kept taking more stuff out and more stuff out and more stuff out. And, there's guys that, they say, well, like Dan Infalt, if it doesn't fit in my pockets, I'm not going to bring it. And I just wondered if there was a difference between, the amount of the gear that you brought, for those different situations, or if the amount of kit that you brought was so robust, regardless. But from that, there's like a bunch of different questions that I had. So for those headlamps, you kept saying 1 cell, 2 cell, etc. So are those they take normal batteries or rechargeable batteries?
Well, you can get them to take. Well, they take both. I mean, you can get both. Even in the CR123 now they have rechargeables. But I like the CR123 batteries better than the AA's. Because the AA's, you got to buy lithium in order to use them in a winter. A regular AA will not work in a winter. It might work for 15 minutes, but here where I'm at, that's about all you'll get. So lithium batteries are most important. And for me, I like the CR123s. So all my lights take CR123 batteries, which I buy in bulk on Amazon. I buy them by 100 pack at a time because I use them for so many different lights. I'm always running headlamps. I even I exercise at night after everybody goes to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. I get out and I either go scout through the woods or I walk. I live in a woods, so I got a 3-mile loop that takes me down my subdivision, cuts through the woods 1.5 miles back to my house, and I exercise that route. So I'm using headlamps all the time. So I'm burning through batteries a lot. But I like the CR123. When I say a 1 cell, that means it takes 1 battery. 2 cell means it takes 2 batteries. So you're getting double the power. Is the big difference in there. And as far as packs, I know it sounds like a lot of stuff, but I remember I weighed my pack last year with my harness, with my lineman belt, with my binoculars, with everything in there. I think it was 14.5 pounds was what my pack was. And that was fully loaded with everything. So it may sound like a lot of stuff, but realistically, as you see when I pull it out of that pack, it's mostly bulkier. It's clothes and the harness and the things like that. But realistically, you figure 4 pounds harness, you figure 2 pounds binocular. Let's say, I'll bet gear wise, of actual gear I take in the woods with me, I'm going to say it's probably about 5 pounds. Total is what I'm actually carrying gear wise when you take the weight of the pack out and that kind of stuff. So it may sound like a lot, but it's really not too much. The heaviest thing I carry is my binoculars and my that one knife that I won't go without. That 4-inch SE number 4 or that Brothers of Bushcraft knife. But I just don't feel comfortable being in the woods without a knife that I know I can shelter build and do anything I need to with. It's there. If I break a leg and I need to make splints, if I need to do anything, I have that knife capability. So I like carrying it. But I would say probably, gear wise, it's about 5 pounds of gear, 3 pounds per pack, plus my, my harnesses, my water, and my binoculars and that knife. So it's really not a lot.
And so let's talk a little bit about that Havalon, because so for when you first got that, like when you first saw those come out, what were your thoughts on them? Because personally, like, I am more along the same ideas as you with most things. Large fixed blade. If you've ever looked at or read about or dipped your toes into any sort of bushcraft or anything like that, you'll see real quickly of the type of knife that Jason's talking about. And then so when they first came out with these replaceable blade knives, I thought, well, what a stupid idea. What happens if I don't, if I wreck the blade, if the channel gets caught, plugged up with stuff or anything like that. And I've got one of the Outdoor Edge EDC Razor lights or something like that. And I mean, I'm just blown away by it. I mean, holds an edge, sharp, fairly robust. But when they first came out, until I actually used one, I thought, man, what a dumb idea. So, being a knife guy, how did you end up using one of those?
Well, if you go back, I mean, I've been doing a podcast almost 9 years now, 8 years, something like that. And if you go back to the first couple of years, there's probably 10 episodes where I rip on a Havalon and a replaceable blade knife. Like, I'm like, listen, if you don't know how to sharpen a knife, you have no business being in the woods. This is a cheat. This is a joke. That was my attitude towards it. And it was that way for a long time. And then I bought one. And I bought it basically because I just wanted to see what the hype was about, but never thought I'd use it. And I came to the simple conclusion, which is exactly what I have today. And that conclusion is that a replaceable knife or blade knife is not a knife, by my opinion, whatsoever. What it is, a Havalon to me is a scalpel. It is not a knife. I would never carry one, for other than processing animals. It would never be something I'd EDC. It would never be anything that I would rely on. And it's never anything I would use for anything other than taking apart animals. So for me, it is an incredible tool. Don't accept the bolt. I do not like, I've had 2 of the bolt models. They make a Havalon bolt. They make a Havalon Piranha, and then they make like 12 different versions. I really like the straight scalpel handle one that they sell or you can get on Amazon. I use that one a lot. That's always in my one frame pack. But I like the Piranha model. The bolts. I have 2 bolts, and then I bought 2 other ones that I gave away as gifts for friends. And every one of them, bolt, one of the handle scales is cracked at the head of it. It cracks over time with use. Now we're not babying them, and I am trying to go. I'm in a hurry, so I'm really wrenching on them. I mean, I pop blades off of them all the time because I'm using them like you're not supposed to or too hard. So maybe we did something, but I'm not a fan of the bolt model because of that, that crack up by the main pivot point that always ends up being there. Now the Piranha, I've never yet had that happen, and that was the first one I bought. So I've been using it still. So I really like the Piranha models. They're nice and they're compact and they're small, and they actually fit inside. I don't carry the Havalon case. Instead, I actually put the Piranha bolt right inside of that plastic tube that your spare blades come in. And so I put the Piranha with a fresh blade on it and 3 new blades, and I stick them right in that little plastic tube, put the cap on it, throw it in a quart-sized Ziploc bag with my gloves and my wet wipes, and I always stuff a game bag in there too as well. Game bags, I carry a lot. I always got game bags, but if you If you don't want to buy game bags, another nice thing too, because I carry them all the time for friends because they never have game bags and should. But extra large pillowcases, you find them at like Walmart or the dollar store on sale. They work fantastic. They're like incredible game bags. And when you're done with it, take it home, throw it in a 5-gallon bucket with some water and a little bleach, and then pull it out a half hour later and fold it up, and you're all done. They're sweet and simple and cheap. But that's my thought on the Havalons. I don't think of them as an actual knife. I think of them as a replaceable blade scalpel specifically designed for game, taking apart animals, for fine tuning around the eyelids. Anywhere I would use a scalpel for, that's what I would do. But when you're processing and boning an animal out, if I do it with a regular knife, and I don't care what super steel you got, any of that kind of stuff, when you start grinding them into bones and you start peeling meat off the bones and boning them out, it doesn't matter what the steel is. You're going to dull it out to the point where you're going to have to work harder on the last half than you did on the first half. And that Havalon prevents that from happening. I can work through that thing and I get about halfway. I get one half quartered out or boned out and all done. And by then, if I need to swap that blade out, I will. Or believe it or not, I actually carry a little ceramic steel with me too, and I'll take that same blade that's on that Havalon, and I'll just rub it a couple times on that ceramic rod and bring that edge back and finish out the last part of the deer. But it's so nice to not have to worry about actually sharpening a knife. If I'm working through there, especially like on bear, I can't get through an entire bear with one Havalon blade. I can on a doe. I can bone out a whole doe on a Havalon blade. But if it's a decent sized buck, I got to switch to a second blade. And it's nice. Probably don't have to, but again, I want to move real fast. I mean, I can bone that deer out from the time I'm standing over it till the time everything's in my pack and I'm walking out. It's about 35 minutes. And in order to do that, I need that blade sharp. And I need it to, when I make a cut, I need it to actually do what I want it to. And that Havalon lets me do that really, really fast and in all weather without sharpening a knife.
Yeah. Like I said, I had heard you talk about them before. I just wanted, for our listeners, because like I say, for me, that's again same story. Like not a knife, just it's in my pack for a purpose, but it's not like what I'm gonna fall back on as my, oh shit, I need a knife.
Right.
It's just there. I've got a Phoenix headlamp as well. I'm fairly, I don't know, I guess I look at it from a practical standpoint. I mean, I know how you use, you outlined why you use the CR23 batteries. I tend to go with the AA versions. Just because I feel like I always find myself in BFE hunting, and anytime that I've had to try and look for a battery, it's not there. But I know that I'm going to be able to find a AA battery, just the same as, my handguns are 9mm and my shotguns are 12 gauge, because the ammo is going to be available at the hardware store versus, if you're shooting a, 40 or not 40, but 10mm, which everybody wants a 10mm, and it's like ammo is, you're like the hardware stores around here, you're not going to be able to find that. So I just look at it from a practicality, availability standpoint, and AA batteries are available.
Yeah, and with the 10mm thing too, I have both, and I'm with you. Carry the 9 and 10mm. Try carrying that thing. It's twice the size, has twice the weight. The thing's a brick. I love mine, but it goes in an outside the waistband holster, rig. Then it not like a carry rig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but with the flash or with the AA batteries, you're right. You don't always find CR123s. Now you can find them. Really the only place I had a problem with, believe it or not, was in Vero Beach, Florida. We were down there and we were out crab hunting at night on the beaches and watching, the kids were out there. We're picking crabs and catching them and stuff like that. We weren't keeping them. The kids were little. We were playing. So this was a few years ago, but we were out there and we could not, I had 3 headlamps with me and I had a dozen batteries. Well, after 3 nights of this, we burned through all those batteries, and I went to go buy some more and there were none. We couldn't find them anywhere. It was pretty shocking. That it wasn't there. We ended up having to buy some AA battery $12 flat headlamps to get us through the rest of that. But normally, knowing that I can't find lights like that or batteries like that in some places, I mean, I carry a dozen of them in my I have 2 packs I have my hunting packs, but then I have what I call my car pack, which is basically just a little pouch bag, almost like a fanny pack size bag that carries extra gloves, extra Havlon blades, extra batteries, extra paracord, anything I might need to replenish my supply, especially like when I'm out of state hunting. It's not like I can come home and get more stuff. So I want, if I use a set of gloves, I want to replace them. So I got that replacement bag, and in there I always carry at least a dozen or 18 CR123 batteries in there. And then in every one of my vehicles, I got a dozen of them in there too. So I got these batteries all over. But that's a very good point you make. If you're going CR123, make sure you have the supply of batteries, because not everywhere will.
Yeah, and like I say, personally, like that was one of the things when I was in the Marines. Every time we would go, and it would be like, if you had something odd, inevitably it fails when you need it the most, and then you're scrambling or whatever, or you've got to carry enough to supply yourself, and so just availability is the thing.
And I carry 2 extra AA batteries, 2 lithium ones in my pack as well, because and in my actual pack, I carry 2 CR123 batteries at all times, extras, and I carry 2 AA batteries extra. I just have them wrapped in a piece of electrical tape and they're sitting inside my little survival bag. But I keep them in there because of the fact that I have to have 2 AA's for my GPS also. So if my GPS batteries start to go out on me, I need those spares. So spare batteries are just a part of life. You're not going to get away from them. But if you can combine, they say if you can get, like in your situation, you could technically carry just 2 AA batteries. They would work for your headlamp. They'll work for your flashlight. They'll work for your GPS. They'll work for, whatever you want to. For me, my weapon lights, my headlamps, and my flashlights all runs, and my thermal scope that I use. Sometimes I used it this year for finding a doe in December. I love that thing. That thing's amazing. But having that, all of those run on CR123. So I wish they would make a GPS that ran on CR123, so I could just have one battery type. But I still have to carry both AA's for that and a CR123 for everything else.
And I think we touched on this last time, but when are you going to switch over to using your phone for the GPS mapping?
I did it. I did it right after we talked last time, actually. So it was about 3 months ago. And the reason I did it was the first time I went to Georgia, I went down there and I did not download any of the maps or anything on GPS. And I was like, and it was just a standard one. And I had 0 cell service anywhere in there. I mean, for like within 15 miles of the whole area. I mean, there was just nothing, no option. And so finally I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I broke down and I bought that Onyx, and I really like it. I mean, I'm not ready to give up my GPS because I like that I can store everything in my GPS and it's always there, and I can transfer it to my own version of base maps. And I don't like the fact that, I love the Onyx and I'm a big fan, but what happens when my subscription dies or goes away? Or I don't like the fact of all that information is not really mine, or maybe I just don't know how to convert it there. But all of my waypoints and stuff from my GPS are also stored in my computer database. So if I lose a GPS or I get a brand new one, it's real easy for me to transfer everything over. I haven't figured that out yet with Onyx, so I'm still actually doing both. I'm using Onyx for a lot of navigation. I'm using it to mark little things I find along the way, but I'm also using my GPS to mark my actual stand sites and things like that, and keeping my important data in my GPS and on my computer. But I did start using that Onyx, and I do like it. I really do.
Yeah, we've started using Basemap since then. It's much cheaper for the entire U.S., but the amount of layers that are on it is somewhat overwhelming. I think with your just the way that you are with scouting, e-scouting, and everything like that, it's got all the different Google Earths and everything, and you can download your waypoints from Gaia, from CalTopo, from any of that right in there. But I don't know if it would go back and forth between Garmin. I would imagine that there's got to be an export function for Garmin, because you can sync up with with Google Earth, with any of that other stuff.
Yeah.
So certainly, but I know that would be a question from the listeners are going to be like, he could save some batteries if he didn't have a GPS. And I mean, like I said before, like when we went out west, we didn't use our GPS. That was just the backup to the backup at that point.
Right. Yeah. What I like, I'll be honest, what I use my GPS for, realistically, I use it for two purposes. One of them, well, actually, I should take that back and say I use it for three. Because if I get to one spot and I want to hunt, I get there because remember, I scout them ahead of time, like in the spring, I don't go back to them at all for the whole year. And then, so if I'm not going in somewhere new and I'm picking a spot that I'm already pre-scouted, if I walk in there and I don't like what's around me and I'm not seeing a sign that I'm liking, it's nice because right there I can turn on my GPS and it'll show me what stands are around me within, walking distance or how far I got to drive, but I can see what they are and I can see right there and see what the wind is and what's what. So I like it for that aspect. And I like it for going into those spots in the dark in the morning. Because then I can walk in and when I turn it on, it leaves me that blue breadcrumb trail. And when I turn around and walk out, I got that breadcrumb trail too. But now what's nice is it saves that route in there. So I can leave it like that and I'll let those breadcrumb trails accumulate almost over the whole season. And what's nice is, let's say that if I go into one stand and then I come out that same exact route, so I've only got one scent trail in and out, and then I leave and I come back, say I want to go back there a week later, and I want to go that same exact route, I still have that breadcrumb trail. On OnX, you can start and make a breadcrumb trail, but then you lose it as soon as you stop it, or it's always running as an app on your phone, and it gets to be overwhelming. Where with the GPS, it's a little nicer for that. Same for blood trailing. When I'm grid searching for deer, if I shoot a deer in the evening and I run out of blood and I start grid searching, I got that blue breadcrumb trail on my Garmin showing me where I'm going. I can then, if I don't find it, I can leave, come back the next morning, and I can pick up right where I was, and I still have that same route saved, that track saved, and it's on there where I don't know. Maybe I just don't know OnX enough, but it seems every time I use a track feature and OnX, it's like recording my time, my distance, my everything, and it's always running in the background. Even if I run to the store and come out for lunch or something and come back in, it's recording all of that crap, and it's not that I need it. It's just running in the background, eating battery on my phone.
Yeah, so you can what you can do is you'll just, whenever you get to wherever you're going, just like you would on your GPS, you just hit stop, and then it's the same on base map. You would just click save, and then you can actually color code it for different days, different tracks. So you can see which time you went in there, because like you said, you'll have them just over the course of the season, and when you deviate one way or the other. Now, I know that there's been an update on OnX. I don't know, but one thing I found interesting, and I think it would be something you might be able to talk about on your podcast as you're going through these different online mapping softwares and stuff. But with that track, one of the things that I've read frustrations of OnX and Basemap was actually a little bit better. I don't know if they've if OnX has fixed the problem, but where your GPS actually plots you, I don't know however many times per, 100 yards or whatever. What was happening to guys on OnX was it was like cutting the corners.
Right.
So if you were to go around a bush and then around another bush, within X amount of feet, when you saved the map, it would just make a straight line instead of that exact path. So for blood trailing and things like that, because we were comparing, because like I said, we've just started using base map, and everything that we've been using has been positive, and we were comparing that when we were at the show in Novi with some of the other guys that were using OnX, because that's one of the things that they were most frustrated about was that portion right there. So I can see, like in your situation, how you're using it, that would be possibly an issue.
Yep.
So
yeah, because I have OnX. I don't have a lot of experience with it yet. I mean, I can't even figure out how to get the again, because I haven't tried. I not like I play with it at home, so I loaded it. I downloaded my offline maps. I went to Georgia. I went to South Carolina. But I remember, like in South Carolina, I wanted to, like I would mark a waypoint, and and then it took me a while. I finally figured out how to color code them. It took me forever to figure out how to get the name to show up, but I was doing it like in the notes, not in a waypoint name or something. And like I said, I ran the track log for some of these when I was busting brush, so I knew where I would go. And so the next pass I would do, trying to find bedded pigs and that super thick, nasty stuff. I would, my next pass, I would try to be, 40 yards over from that and try and parallel it, and, almost gridding for pigs in the swamps. But so it came in real handy because it was right there. I'm not getting rid of it. Let's put it that way. I'm happy I have it and I like it, but I'm not at the stage where I'm giving up my GPS yet. And the GPS is all my waypoints and my most important data. The OnX is just kind of a quick little bonus. It lets me see where I am in relationship to swamp edges, and where it's nice. It's a nice feature. I like it.
So you're telling me that you're kind of like in a limbo between a family heirloom and a Havalon, then?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm old school, and when I find something that works, I really stick with it, and I don't feel the need to change. And then, like I said, there's a lot of things that are better, but I'm still. I am, like I said, I'm getting older, and that stuff gets to be tricky for me. Sometimes I get set in my ways. I don't want to mess with it. I just recorded 3 videos that are coming out that they're not even out yet. But one of them is why I refuse to hunt with mini climbing sticks. The other one is why I do not use SRT or DRT style hunting, and why I don't think I ever would. The third one is why I don't like to hunt out of a saddle. So, I mean, not that any of those things are bad, but they are the rage that everybody is doing today, and there are reasons that I'm not doing them and not interested in them. Not that they're, not that there's anything wrong with them, but my personal reasons why. But again, you just get set in your ways on stuff, and you look at some of the things, and I look at things and I'm thinking, man, that's so much work, and you don't gain anything from this or that, or so it's really hard for me to find change in a lot of things. It really is. When I get a system down and I like it, man, it's like pulling teeth for me to think even try to change it. I'm not a I don't know. I experiment with a lot of things, but when I find something that works and I think it's the best that it's out there, I hold on to it pretty tight.
Well, and I think that there's a lot to be said for that, because we've talked to numerous individuals who are very polarizing in a lot of different realms or genres, whether it's saddle hunting, super light tree stand, minimalist, gear nerds, filmers, all that stuff. But everything lends to, whether you're Western hunting, whitetail hunting, it's whatever gives you that confidence. And if you can do it with your eyes closed, blindfolded, in the dark, whether it's walking into the spot because the property like the back of your hand, or you can set up your sticks because and you can feel what stick 1 versus 2 versus 4 is, because this one's got the little burr from when whatever, that gives you that little bit more confidence, and that makes you more effective. So there's a lot of guys, I think I would include myself in this to some degree, that are bouncing around, trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to do this. And, you find yourself not having that system. So then you're a little bit less efficient. And then, it's a lot easier to get frustrated and second guess yourself. And it already puts you in a bad way before you ever even get started. So there's nothing wrong with, finding a system and sticking with it, I would say.
Yep. And that's how I feel too. And like I said, I always pay attention to all the trends and what people are doing out there. Like I said, the saddles. I mean, my best friend builds awesome saddles, from Texas Saddle. He's got incredible saddles, and they're great. But I'm not interested in being in one. I don't want to sit in one. I'd rather pack the weight of a stand in, put it up there, especially for my all day sits, and be in a stand, And the same with the sticks and all that kind of stuff. I watch these guys with the rope methods, and I just had a guy on my show that's an arborist for a living, and he was talking SRT versus DRT, and So then I started watching, I don't know, I watched probably 150 YouTube videos on guys doing that stuff. And the one consistent thing that I noticed all the time was that in order to do it with any kind of rope climbing, I'm looking at it from my hunting standpoint and I'm going, okay, these guys are doing this in their yard and that works great. But when I walk in the woods, when I'm in knee deep water or when I'm in super crunchy leaves and I'm 80 yards from a bedding area, these guys are walking around a tree like 5 times, 10-yard circles, 4-yard, 5-yard circles to get these ropes up over, walking back and forth, crunching leaves, ropes on everything on the ground. If I'm in water, I can't do that. It's not functional for me. So, I mean, there's a lot of things, like I said, that I see people do that may work absolutely fantastic for them, but for what I'm doing, there's no possible way I could.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know. I continue to be, I don't know, humbled. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm not sure. We may have mentioned it on the podcast before, but the amount of guys that were in their 50s, 60s, that were coming up to us when we were at the Novi show, that were buying that new Phantom and they were upgrading from whatever they were using in the past, was kind of staggering. And there was one gentleman who had to be well into his 60s that, he was talking to Ernie, the owner of Tethered, about, that adjustable bridge on there because he wanted to know if it was suitable for SRT because that's what he's doing. And I've watched the same videos as you are. And I thought the question, what I thought you were going to see is every guy that I see doing that is sweating by the time that they get to the top. And I've yet to see a guy that does it where it's like nice and fluid and it looks, orchestrated. Like these guys know what they're doing. There's no two ways around it, but that style to me is not on the radar. I've said it before on here, and I try to get myself versed in just about everything so that I can speak intelligently or, at least be familiar with these types of things. And that stuff to me is no way. And another one is that one stick method. Because I don't know, maybe it's one of your things with the short sticks or whatever. But if you've ever kicked a stick off or, like myself, I've lost the bottom of my climber multiple times. So, making that descent in your saddle or your climbing harness, it can be done, sure. But in no way, shape, or form is that like what I would like to be my standard of ascending and descending a tree. And like I say, everybody will just say, well, you've never done it, this way or that way. And it's like, it doesn't really matter. I've climbed with lots of different sticks and I've pretty much landed on the sticks that I like and I'm comfortable doing it. So
yeah,
there's no reason to try and lighten it up if it's going to be, pools of sweat and a pain,
And the efficiency. The two things that matter to me is the one, especially I never realized that it was that way till I watched the SRT and DRT style climbing. But when I walk to a tree and I hit the base of the tree and I clip the hip belt on my pack, my feet do not move until they go up the tree. So once I step to the base of the tree, I am there and everything is then silent. No scent, no noise. No, not that the scent's a big deal because they're still, even with those rope guys, they're right tight to the tree, pretty close, within 5 yards of the tree. But I don't move. My feet are there, and I can be standing in knee-deep water and hang my pack on a branch and take everything off or hang it on my lineman belt until I get everything ready. But I mean, I can be in water and doing this, but my feet don't move from the base of the tree. With those rope climbing systems, my God, there's so much activity and noise. It's everybody, they're always showing it to you in your yard. So then I watch these videos and I'm like, okay, well, I got leaves on the ground out here. So I walk out there and I said, let's just imagine. So I put a piece of paracord and I tied a padlock on the end of it and I wanted to see. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see. And all I had to do was, I wasn't going to climb the rope, but I just wanted to see the process. And my God, it took me 5-6 minutes of making so much walking noise to get that rope up and over there and ready. I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough at it, but I don't think I'm ever going to be, because in the time it took me to just tie this up and throw it over the tree, pull the rope around, put my running bowline in it and pull it up and cinch it there, I would have already been in my stand sitting there silently, you know? So yeah, so I mean, they're all different things. And I will say this too about the saddle stuff. I know we weren't going to get into these tangents, sorry.
Oh no, that's
But
fine.
with the saddles, and there's when I put that video out there, I hope a lot of people don't throw a fit, because I know saddles are the rage. But I will definitely say this too. I said it in that video also, because you had said 50, 60, 70-year-old guys in saddles. There is no safer method to be in a tree than in a saddle. No tree stand will ever be as safe as a saddle is, because at the saddle you take, I mean, 90% of tree stand fatalities, falls, accidents happen transitioning from the sticks to the stand and vice versa. And or falling asleep in a stand. That's where 95% probably of all accidents happen. And when you're using a saddle, you cut all of those out of the equation. You climb to height, lock in your tether strap, you're done. And when you're done, you come back down. You're connected 100%, and there is no transitioning like that. So I honestly believe that when it comes to you want to be safe, which I think a lot of these guys. I mean, I'm 46 now, but I mean, I got a lot of friends that are, my best friend John. He's 57 years old, and a lot of friends I know are getting up there. And I'll tell you what, for them, the saddles offer that security blanket of knowing that they are, it's the safest system out there. So there's a lot to be said for that.
Well, and with everything that we're talking about right now, I just want for the listeners, like, if you're doing SRT, if you're climbing with one stick, if you're doing all of this stuff, it goes back to what we said. If that's what you've landed on and that's where you're confident and that's what makes you most effective, by all means. And if it's something that you're looking forward to and that's something that you want to try out, go for it. But we're just kind of outlining our personal thoughts on why it doesn't.
You're right. I mean, like I said, my best friend hunts out of a saddle every single time. He doesn't even use a tree stand. He's always in a saddle. I'm always in a stand. I got buddies, and I just had on a podcast. He all he does is SRT. Period. That's the only way he climbs. And then I got buddies, Emra over at Bowhunting Souls. All he does is a one stick method, like you're talking about, every single time. And then I got a lot of friends that are running that love the mini sticks. So like you said, 100%, it is all personal preference and personal opinion. And there's a lot of great systems out there. But I mean, for me, again, old dog, new tricks. I'm setting the way I am. I can be in a tree in 3.5 minutes with my setup in any kind of situation and environment. I don't need anything else. That's what works for me.
Right. Now, one other thing, and I don't want to make this a real long thing, but I just know that I'm probably going to get questions. When you talked about fatwood, people aren't probably familiar with that, like I said, unless they've really delved into the bushcraft or whatever. So they're going to be like, fatwood, where do I buy this? How do I do this? What is it? You said that's one of the things, doesn't weigh anything. It's good to have. It's better to know how to find, but.
Right. It is better and I'll be honest with you. I used to process my own, and I don't anymore. It grows in the base of the limbs of pine trees. But I don't do that anymore. I buy it. You can buy a 25-pound box of this stuff on Amazon for like $10. Okay. And I use it. That's what I start all my wood stove fires with for my, on my hunting trips. It's nice. I use it literally like a match. I don't use any paper or kindling or tinder or anything like that. I come home from hunting and walk into my tent. I take 3 pieces of that, and I stack them in there as a teepee. I take one piece, I light it with my lighter and put it right in the middle of that, and then I start putting wood in. So fatwood it's pine wood soaked with pine resin, and it burns really well. Well, one of the biggest issues is trying to start a fire even with a lighter in the rain. Okay, it's really hard to do. And you don't have to do it all the time, but there are occasions where I need to, especially when you get into the freezing rains and the cold weather. And if I'm out there working an animal, even, you kill a deer in the evening in Missouri, and I'm literally, I'm a mile and a half, up and down 2 ridges from my car, and I got an animal there, and I have to bone it out. your hands are freezing. It's cold. You know what? Having a fire there is pretty nice, especially in the rain. Well, I fought to try and find a way to actually make that fire work real well. With that kind of stuff. So, but that you take that piece of fat wood, and it is literally about the size of a fat pencil, or think of a contractor's pencil, that square wooden pencil. That's about the size of a piece of fat wood I carry. But what I do is just put it. If you picture it, I take my knife and I put it on it right in the middle of that thing, and I split it like into two. And then I take that one piece of it, and then what I do is I scrape off some shavings of that pine resin, and I put it on a piece of bark or a leaf or something like that. So I collect it all. And then what I do is I find a stump or a down piece of log, something. I take my knife, I stick the tip of my knife in there, and I smack the back of that knife with my hand or with a log, just to put a divot, like a little, stab that tip into that log. And then I whittle that tip off of, or that point onto that piece of fat wood, and I put it into that piece of log. So it's sticking up. So the log is there, and then I got a piece of fat wood sticking up like a pencil, like you stabbed a pencil into a counter or something. Okay. Well, then I put all those chips right at the base of it. When I light those chips, and then they are going to burn, and then they're going to light that piece of fat wood. The flame that comes off of that piece of straight up and down pencil sized piece of fat wood will literally reach 8, 10, 12 inches in height, and it will burn for 4, 5, 6 minutes. So it gives me this huge, hot, heating, powerful flame that will actually let me make my fires in the rain. It's incredible. It's just such a great system. I did a video on it. I have it shown. It's on my website. Under what did I'll have to look. I'll look while we're talking, and I'll tell you what video it was that I did it in. But it's such an incredible thing. And like I said, that piece of fat wood weighs about the same weight as a number 2 pencil. It's just very lightweight because it's pine. It's very soft and very lightweight, but it is one heck of a tool to have.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those things. Like if you've messed around with bushcraft or any sort of that outdoorsy, I don't know, preppery type stuff, I guess, it ends up, and it's a fun thing to do with your kids, to go out and, try and find some. We're here in Michigan, so everything's, pine trees, and the lower limbs are always dead and facing up. So it's, you can just break it off, look at it, and you can smell it. But you can certainly buy it too. But
yeah, and catching it is it's a fun family event to go out and find it. And to process it yourself, it's definitely get you out there and doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel like that's a pretty good rundown of the things that you've got in your pack as a regular on a regular hunt. And like I say, there's guys that say, well, I just bring a knife, a compass, and whatever I've got on me, as my normal everyday pocket knife or whatever. So with the situation that we're in today, and like I said, there's a little bit of preparedness and all of that. I think a lot of people are realizing what things they wish they would have had, or for us as hunters, our freezers are usually full, and we tend to be more, I don't know, earthy people, outdoorsmen, there are a lot of foraging, and you can live off the land or whatever. That's something I think a lot of us take pride in. But on that note, I guess where do you stand with like the preparedness stuff? And like when we talked a little bit about everyday carry and stuff like that, do you carry the stuff that's in your pack when you go in hunting? This is in addition to all of the other things that you have on your person.
Yeah, my EDC that I carry with me every single day. I always have a flashlight with me. It's a Eagle Tac single cell CR123 flashlight. It's called a D25 Clicky is what it's called, and it's an incredible light. I've been carrying the same style. I mean, I buy a new one every couple of years because they get better LEDs, but I've been carrying an Eagle Tac D25 clicky flashlight for about 13 years now. It's the only flashlights I carry. They're about $45, and they're rock solid, bulletproof. We used to take them back in the day. We'd go swimming with the kids at a pool, like at a Holiday Inn, and I would turn this thing on and I would throw it as far as I could out into the deep end of the pool, and they would dive down and get it, bring it back to me. I'd throw it again. I mean, the thing's just indestructible. They bounce it off the concrete. They're just awesome flashlights. So I always carry a flashlight. I always have a knife with me all the time, usually an SC Azula or this Bradford Guardian I've been carrying for the last few months. I really like. So I always have that. I always have a lighter with me. I always have a fire starter connected to it's on my key ring. It's a little mini one, about an inch long ferrocerium rod, but I always carry that on there. I have a magnifying glass inside of my wallet that I carry, which is another fire starting thing. And it also helps me find ticks. And it's also notched with a V notch in it to remove ticks. So that's always in my wallet. And then I always carry a little multi-tool. It's very small. It goes in your pocket. It's made by Swiss Tech, but it's got two Phillips screwdrivers and two flatheads and a small pair of pliers, and it just fits right in my pocket too. So those are with me every single minute, everywhere I go. And then as far as handguns, depends on what's the mood I'm in. I'll be 100% honest. When I'm downstate, I still carry every single time I'm down there. But I used to carry all the time at home, but realistically now it's, I mean, I go between a Glock 26 9mm, and I go between I got a Ruger custom LCP 380 that fits right in my pocket. And I'm not gonna lie, I end up carrying that little 380 more than anything else these days. Where 2 years ago, you couldn't find, even in my house, sleeping on the couch, I'd have a Glock 26 on my side. But I'm getting a little lazy with that stuff lately.
So all of that stuff, we've had some of our listeners actually message me about some of the things that on your podcast, saying like, hey, have you seen this? And he recommended this and whatnot. I'm similar. I don't go so far as the magnifying glass and stuff like that, but like I say, I'm more. On our podcast, I'm the cheap one, so I'm on the lower end scale of that. I have a what is it? It's a Spyderco. It's like $45, and it's everything I thought I didn't want in a knife. It's got G10 scales. It's a liner lock. It's not a flipper, and it is the best knife that I've ever had, as far as like, durability, it's lightweight, it's not heavy. I just love that knife. I used to carry a little mini multi-tool, but with traveling and flying and stuff, it's been from pack to pack to pack to pack, and I've lost it. But I carry a Swiss Army Bantam in my wallet. I know I've heard you talk about it on your podcast, but that's my pen knife. That's the knife when you don't need a knife. I mean, I'm a pharmacist, so if I whip out some sort of tactical knife or something like that, it's not always appropriate. So, yeah. But as far as flashlights go, I thought that was the stupidest thing. I was like, why do you need a flashlight? And for anybody that's listening and that thinks that, carry a flashlight around for a week and see how many times you use it, how many times you wished that you had it. I mean, I use mine just about every day, and I've went through a bunch of them. Like, what are they, like the Preons, whatever, and then some of the Surefire lights and stuff like that. And I found actually a little single AAA through night. It's like a TI3 or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like $17. And the only thing I don't like about it is the clips are cheap and they just fall off. So I end up just having it in my pocket. But I mean, that's every single day for me. And I've went through I feel like just about every single carry handgun known to man, and I end up back with the LCP every day, all the time, just because it disappears.
Yeah, you just drop it in your pocket. It's like, you come in the house to grab your car keys and you throw that in your pocket and you're good to go. It's just right there.
Mhm.
Um, it's something to think about with the clips. I no longer like I would mix. I carried a lot of Benchmades too,
Mhm.
because I like them. Being left-handed, that access lock works really good for me. This used to VV I bought. I'm really loving this knife. Now it's my dressier knife. I bring this on the weddings because when I pull an Azula out at a wedding, especially mine
Mhm.
being where I've done the patina on it and stuff, they get freaked out at that knife. So this Civivi Elementum is a great, classy, gentleman's type knife, but still really rugged, D2 steel and strong. And it's only $50. I'm real happy with it. But when you carry a knife in it with a belt clip or with a pocket clip, I lost one last year. Was it? No, it was 2 years, 2 or 3 years ago. But I was in the swamp and walking through, and I must have had a piece of dogwood or something, grabbed that and yanked that clip right off, and I lost that knife. And that was a Benchmade custom Doug Ritter version, and it had aluminum scales on it that I put on that. I mean, I had like $350 in that knife. It was so sweet, and gone somewhere in the swamp, just ripped right out of my pocket. So if you're carrying something with a pocket clip, watch that stuff. I mean, anything that can grab that, a vine on a branch, anything like that, it'll pull it right out of your pocket. You'll never even know about it.
Yeah, I've lost a bunch of flashlights like that and a few different Kershaws and stuff like that. Um, the knife that I carry is the Spyderco Tenacious. That's the
Yep.
one. And like I said, for $40, it's really hard to beat. And when you said that you lost that knife, I was trying to think if that's the one that I like. There's one like on my short list, and that's about the way that I'd build it. But I think I like the older ones. Not, isn't there a Pardue?
Yeah,
Um,
there is a Pardue that has aluminum scales. Now this I was using the one I lost it was basically a mini Griptilian,
mhm.
but it was made by it was a Doug Ritter special edition. So it had F30V steel, and it was also or I'm sorry, M390 steel, and it was there was no false edge on the top, so it was a complete hard full spine all the way to the tip. It was basically Doug Ritter is a big survival guy, and it was his special version collaboration with Benchmade. So it was a pretty sweet, pretty special knife. And like I said, to lose it, I was pretty pissed. But I
Yeah.
don't have any safe queens. I don't buy something to just have it. If I buy it, I'm going to use it and try and break it and then keep using it. And, so I wasn't going to not use that knife. But I mean, I had a lot of money into it. I was really proud of it. I'm not going to lie.
Mhm.
And it was gone. Just ripped right out of my pocket. But
Yep.
yeah, but a nice one to look at. You ever get in the mood for something to play with? But it's a flipper style too, which I really like. But that Civivi Elementum, Civivi with a C. It's Civivi, the I Civivi, and it's an Elementum, but it's perfect EDC size knife, very classy, very thin, very lightweight, G10 scales, liner lock, flipper style, D2 blade. I mean, that little knife for $50, ball bearing pivot. I mean, I'm playing with it right now. That thing's just straight up incredible.
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram. That was one that really did catch my eye. I like the Ray Laconico Jasmines if I was going to
Yep.
spend a lot of money, and then Kaiser makes one,
Yep.
a copy. I think it's like $100. The problem that I have with like I really like a titanium scale knife or even the aluminum scale. Like that's what I would do if I was to buy one of those. Because I like those mini Griptilians are really nice, and I like that sheep's foot style blade
Right.
on the ones that they have. But they're so bulky. I don't like the grip on them, so I do like those scales, but they're just so slippery.
Yep.
If you're like you said, if it's in the rain, if it's you're sweating, if you're doing anything with it, you get blood on it or whatever, it's just not ideal. But yeah, I'm a nerd when it comes to and it's funny, and I'm pretty sure that you're the same. Is you don't hunt with guns, but I just I'm a gun guy at heart, and,
Yep.
and then I think the gun and knife thing kind of goes to the same. Now, me being on the cheaper end, I don't I'm always looking at the more inexpensive, like handguns and carry guns, and this is like a real tangent. And I don't know if you're still doing stuff on your channel with it. I know that you've done a lot of gun videos, but I know that there's like it's a big no-no on YouTube, and they could pull your stuff just super easy. Have you messed around with any of the lower end handguns or?
Yeah, I've shot. So I'm like you. I mean, I'm real big into it. I even have my own steel range at the house with 13 or 14 steel targets, and I mean, I'm real big into that. I shoot a lot, but I don't do much of the video stuff anymore. Two reasons. One is because YouTube frowns on that, and like I said, I don't want to have my channel be less searched and things like that. And gun videos have a tendency to do that. They can change that at any time, so I just choose to not do much of the gun stuff on my YouTube channel. And then the other reason too is, man, the gun crowds, you get a lot of people out there that that just, there's a lot of armchair experts and a lot of, just some of the comments you get on even some of the gun videos I got already just make you want to pull your hair out. It's like not worth the headache sometimes. So, but as far as shooting, I've shot a lot of them. I'll tell you what, still, even to this day, and I'll bet you can still get it for this price or pretty close to, but, if somebody that doesn't have any guns, that's looking for a great carry gun in the cheapest possible way, go to like KentuckyGunCo.com or the Sportsman's Outdoor Superstore.com, and you can find a Shield M&P 9mm Shield version 2 for like $240 on sale every other month. They're on sale for like $240. Maybe if you catch it at a bad time, it's like $289. But these things are incredible guns. I don't actually own one, but a bunch of my friends do, and I'll tell you what, they are incredible guns for like under $250. And they carry well. They shoot incredible. I've myself have probably shot 5,000 rounds through one, even though I don't even own one, and they never fail. And they're concealable. I mean, it's funny because I tell my daughter, I'm like, well, when you move out, she's only 18, but it's like when you get your own place, if these deals still go on, I might just buy you 10 of these and I'll be mounting them in every room in your house. They'll be right there. But I mean, you can't beat the price. So I think that's probably the steal of the century. As far as guns out there, but there's so many good ones. But that gun for under $250, and then you just have it shipped to your LLC dealer by you, and you pay him $20 to pick it up. That's all you got to do. Sweet and easy.
What's the difference between the regular M&P Shield and the 2.0?
Just some, I think it's a little different, little refinements in the trigger, a little more serration on the slide, couple little cosmetic things, but it was mainly in the trigger. And I think they might have even changed the recoil spring. Again, I don't own either of them. I'm a Glock guy because of the fact that I want all my systems. We have, I don't know, I think we're up to 16 or 18 different Glocks. And I like the fact that they're all feel the same grip angle, same trigger. Everything about them is the same. And we got we got a lot of 9s, 45s, and 10s. And I like that I can pick up a full size 10mm, shoot it, and then go grab a, my other handguns other than our 22s and revolver, some of that stuff. But as far as any defensive guns, I have switched everything over to basically being straight Glock. That's all we shoot or all we own anymore. But like I said, a lot of friends come over with a lot of different guns, and I've seen a ton. Another one, that Sig Sauer P365, that is a great gun. My brother actually carries 2 of them on him every single day, everywhere he goes now. He's got 2 of those, one on a hip, one on an ankle, and he loves those guns. They shoot like a champ too. And they're cheap. They're like, they come with knife types and everything. They're like $450,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got just a ton of guns, and so I've got.
You mentioned that LCP. We have here at the house, I think we got 5 LCPs. We had the original one from like 15 years ago when I bought it. And then they came out with the second version that had a little bigger sights on it. Still not the LCP2, but the original, but like 10 years after it came out, they improved it a little bit. We bought a couple of those, and then they came out with that custom one, which has got the refined red anodized trigger, and it has the super high sights on it. That's the one I carry every day. I love it. And then they came out with the LCP2, which is also a good one. But I mean, that gun, I bet you we have shot between 5 of these LCPs. I'll bet, no joke, we've put 10,000 rounds through these guns. Never one time did I ever have any malfunction or any failure of any kind.
Now, did you see that they made a new the LCP2 in a 22 in the low recoil?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
I was surprised by that. But yeah,
I think it's good, but I'm not a fan. The only issue I have is I just don't trust rimfire in a life or death situation. I think at 22, I think when you shoot somebody, they don't care what you shot them with. They realize they're shot and they're stopping, or they're gonna, it's gonna have some kind of an impact. It's gonna make a difference. But I don't trust rimfire on that kind of a situation.
Yeah, I totally get that. I just think as far as I think the design for it is like as a trainer, and the same thing goes. They make that the Smith & Wesson M&P. It's a full size in 22, but
I have it. Yeah, I love that gun.
Yeah, and it's in 4. All of the getting familiar with it and everything. The same thing applies. You can just pick up, whichever other platform you have in that M&P and shoot it.
And now they got the Glock 22 also. I haven't bought that one yet. I'm waiting for them to, I don't want to be the guinea pig on it. And I've heard some good and bad, but that Smith & Wesson 22 M&P, we have that one, and we have that original, and then we got the compact one. But that original is that gun. I'm not going to lie, we're still on this original recoil spring and everything in there, and I'll bet it's got 40 or 50,000 rounds through this thing. I mean, that gun has been shot so much in the last 6 or 7 years that we've had it, and again, it runs like a top. You can't go wrong with that kind of stuff. But 22s are fun.
Yeah, and again, I've got friends that end up having with the gun guys, you're going to get everything, so they're going to say a 380 is not a real gun. There is a legitimate inherent risk with carrying a 22, but something like one of the LCRs or something like that, a 22 revolver, if you're, it's going to be, better than nothing, better than the gun in the car, better than whatever. And being a revolver, it's not going to fail to cycle the next round, where in anything automatic, you're going to have a failure.
And there's a lot of people that carry, like my wife, for example, she refuses to carry with one in the pipe, and even though she, she's married to me. I mean, she trains a lot and shoots a lot, and but she just will not, because she first carries, and she will not carry with one in the pipe on any of her guns. And it's like, then you should carry a revolver is what I say, but she won't. To each her own, and they do their own thing. But in my opinion, if you're going to carry if you're going to carry a semi-auto, you better have it in a condition ready to shoot and ready to go. If not, a revolver, like you said, might be a right way to go, because trying to rack a slide in a heat of the moment and not short cycle it or have all these, there's just so many variables that can come into play,
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. And the same goes, it's a long rabbit hole, but off-body carry and, all sorts of every other thing. And I can see why, not putting yourself out there yeah, and subjecting yourself to that is the way to go. But yeah, I guess, that's just kind of what I wanted to talk with you about. Like I said, people have got extra time to organize their gear. People they got their seasons, a lot of time to look at, what they've got coming up and to kind of reorganize, reconsider. John, he couldn't be on here, but he carries a grunt tube, a pair of binoculars, and a knife, and that's about it. And the knife would be, probably something he couldn't name, or a buck 110 from when he was 15 years old or something, just right down to the bare bones of it. And then you've got my father-in-law who would carry the kitchen sink. He's got 2 sandwiches and a thermos and a thermos from last time, and then extra clothes and extra clothes and extra clothes. And I've fallen into that trap myself. So like I said, for you being a gear centric guy and building a system over many, many, many hunts, I was just curious to see, what kind of consistencies that you had and what you could kind of, I don't know, how you could direct the listener and myself, just as much. Because like I say, for all of these podcasts that we do, I mean, it's a little bit different in a sense. A lot of your podcasts, it's just you talking. And so, you're giving out the information that you've gathered over, all of these years and all of these things. But for me, when I have a guest on, I'm as much taking the information as it is for the listener. So I appreciate you coming on here and chatting with me about that stuff. And like we talked about, I knew this was going to be a fairly easy one for you.
Right. And you're right. That it's the same here on this end. I mean, if I go to, let's say, just look at Missouri. I go to Missouri. I had my buddy Joe with me, and I had Steve, who builds my bows, Steve Touré, Northern Miss Longbows. He was down there with me. You got all ends of the spectrum. You have Steve, who walks in the woods with a back quiver on him. He carries a back, or he has a back quiver on his back. He grabs his tree stand by the frame and just hucks it out there and carries it that way. No straps or nothing on it. And on the same note, he has a headlamp in his pocket, and he put it. If he's going out, he says, "I'm going for an all-day sit." He'll stick a water bottle in his coat pocket and a granola bar in his back pocket, and he's out there, and that's it. And then you have, me, who is organized, systematic, everything's in its right pocket, put where it's supposed to be. Then you have my buddy Joe, who literally, like you said, I mean, he's got stuff in there he's probably got 4 camera bodies in there from, doing photography work, a month before that he forgot to take out of there. He needs a 6,000, cubic inch bag to go on a deer hunt, so you have each avenue of everybody on there. And there is no right or wrong. It's just whatever is comfortable to you. Just like we said with the mini stick saddles, SRT, none of it matters. It is all just personal opinion and preference. Find what works for you. Here's the way I look at it with the pack stuff and with my pocket stuff. If I carry it for a week and I haven't used it in a week, I don't need to carry it anymore. If I hunt and I go on 3 hunts and I haven't used it, like for example, a grunt tube, I never carry a grunt tube. I can grunt with my mouth and I can do an estrus bleat with my mouth, and I can bleat with my mouth. So there's no reason for me to have to carry a deer call at all. For how limited time I use them, I make them with my mouth. I practice it actually so that I could do pretty good at it. And I do it with my mouth. And so that's one less thing I got to carry. But so if you're not carrying this stuff, then and you're not using it, other than your survival kit, which you may want some, cotton ball soaked in petroleum jelly, some tinder in case of something along those lines. But if it's not something like that, if you're not using it regularly, then don't carry it. It's not worth it.
Well, for myself, 90% of my hunts, I'd have to leave my kill kit at home.
That goes in with the survival kit. That's like with the camera. It's a bonus. I don't carry a camera anymore. I'm a photographer and I don't even carry a camera. I just use my cell phone for everything. They do so good, But and then I was going to tell you too, the magnifying glass. It is a credit card size, thinner than a credit card. You get them at pharmacists, you probably get them at like Rite Aid, Walmart, I think I buy mine at Walmart, but they're like next to nothing. But I'll tell you what, I use that thing all the time. If you get a splinter working in the garage or something, or if I, load in a trailer and I get a splinter and I can't see it, I pull that little magnifying glass out. That thing just straight up rocks. It's awesome. And like I said, you just in a corner of it, carve a V-notch, you get ticks on it, you can pop them off. You can actually look in there close and see how well in there, if they started to expand it all. You can see everything with it. I love that little credit card. It's like $1 for each one of them. I've been carrying the same one for like 4 years. And then eventually after like 4 years in your wallet on the inside pocket, it starts to get scratched up from sand. You just buy a new one.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into that. Like I said, I mean, I've been down the rabbit hole, and I've carried just about everything, but that's the one thing that I haven't, I didn't end up putting in any of my kits. I don't think was that. So I'll definitely do that. And the way that the ticks are this year, that's definitely a good, a good plan.
Yeah, well, you can also notch any cards too. Like, if you got a business cards are a little flimsy, but if you got a credit card in there, most of them are chip red now, so if it's a quarter of it, but you put a little 1/8 inch long piece of pie triangle cut in there, it makes a perfect tick key to pull ticks off. You just slide it right up from the butt side of them, right up to the mouth. Get that mouth of them right in that V, and then just start prying up, and you'll pop them right out nice, slow, and easy without leaving anything behind.
Awesome.
Yep. Because I deal with the ticks all the time, and if you can get ticks on you like that and they're already sunk in, if you get them, try to save them. I keep a pill bottle in my car, and so if I get a tick on me, I'll usually leave it till I get back to the car, and then when I get to the car, I pull them off and put them in there, and that way, if anything were to happen, now for their dog ticks, if they're the big dog ticks, I don't care. I pop them right off all the time. But if I get the smaller deer ticks and I get a deer tick in me, I usually will save them until I get back to the car or in anything I can, or whatever I got to put them in. But it's good to save those just in case. That way, if you do come down with any symptoms, Lyme disease or anything like that, if you have the tick, it's nice they can test it.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff. I we when we were at ATA, we talked to from the hunting public, Mindy, and she was talking about how she's allergic to red meat because of the whatever the disease is that comes from ticks. And it's like, man, in a group of people that kill so many deer and they live off of, a lot of wild game, that would just be terrible.
Yep. 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 And I know a lot of loggers, not so much, I don't hear too many cases these days, but I know loggers that have it, and they have Lyme disease and they got it because of ticks, and it's nothing to mess with, and it's pretty serious thing. And it's so like I said, it's and if they catch it early enough, it's usually they can do some stuff for it, I guess. And I've never had it, but it's always good to, if you get those little bitty ticks on you, those little deer ticks, it's not a bad idea to save them. Just put them in a pill container, let them sit there, let them, they'll die quick and they just sit in there. But it's just nice to keep them. And then at the end of the year, I dump that out and it's half full of, I usually get 25, 30, 50 ticks a year on me, but I'll dump them out. But I try and save them for a little while anyway.
Yeah, I bet your wife loves getting in your car.
But the worst part's in bed, she gets so mad because like I come home and then I'll wake up in the morning and she'll be like, "What is on you? You have a tick on your face." It's like, what? I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah, she gets she changes the sheets when it's spring scouting season. Like right now, she changes the sheets like every single day. She's like, "I don't trust you coming back in from the woods." And I do. I check, but I take a shower in the morning. I don't take one at night. So if they happen to be in some remote little hidden nook or cranny, they might be there in the morning too.
Man. Oh, well, that's a ton of great information, Jason. I really appreciate having you on here again, and I'm really looking forward to this blowing over, and then sometime this summer heading over there and doing some bow fishing with you. That's
it's that season.
Something to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your turkey season here. You said you're going to go buy a license, so.
Well, I'm going to buy my daughter a license. Me personally, I don't know. I might buy a tag and I might give it a try, but I'm focusing hard on the bow fishing and some of that other stuff and trying to figure out how to put some money back in with this virus thing. But I think I'm going to buy one for my daughter and I'm going to take her out. She wants to try it pretty bad, so I think that's what I'm going to do. So I may not have one, but I'm hoping to get her into one.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all we got for this evening. Where can people follow along with everything you're doing if they're not already?
Anywhere online, if you just type in Traditional Bowhunting and Wilderness Podcast, it'll bring you to my YouTube channel. It'll bring you to my website, which is tbwpodcast.com. But it'll bring you just type in Traditional Bowhunting and Wilderness Podcast, and it'll pop you up to anything I got. But YouTube video for all the videos, or YouTube channel for all the videos. And for the podcasts and stuff like that, it's tbwpodcast.com or your Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Are you on iHeartRadio? I just got on there. That's pretty cool. I filled out their app and went through that. I don't know if you're on there yet or not, but it's pretty cool.
I'll have to take a look. I feel like we're on like everything, but I don't know.
I think you got to do that one. Yeah, I think that one's an individual one. It's not done through like your Blueberry or Libsyn or anything like that. I think you actually have to physically go do it. And I did. It was pretty easy, and it only took like a week or two for approval. And but it's pretty sweet. But I get a lot of people that follow along through iHeartRadio, so that's kind of a cool one.
I'll have to check that out. Awesome.
Yep.
All right, Jason. Well, thanks for stopping by tonight.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks.